والسلام على سيدنا محمد وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. We find the topic of today is about Muslim sisters. Our Muslim sisters, if you think about it, is one of the most attacked in Islam. And as a Muslim, as a Shabab of Islam, men and the women, we need to understand what these attacks are and how to defend them, inshallah ta'ala. So inshallah ta'ala, without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my dear brother on my right, the speaker for today, and he's going to take over, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin in the name of Allah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Indeed, all praises are due to He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who grants us sustenance, the one who grants life, and the one who takes death, the one who created the heavens and the earth, and the one that will wrap the whole of the heavens and the earth in His hand on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Like the brother mentioned, today's discussion is about something that we see happening in the media quite often nowadays, and that's the attacks upon Muslim women. And as a prelude to this, is that attacks upon Islam and slander against Islam is nothing new to Muslims. In fact, any of us who has read the seerah and studied the seerah would realize that when he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, began his risala, began his message in Makkah, how did the Quraysh respond? How did they respond? They responded in exactly the same way in which people respond today. I.e., they attacked him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they attacked Islam. So what did they say? They said things like that he's a liar, that he's possessed by jinn, or that he's mad, or that this Quran is a book of sorcery and a book of magic, or that he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, has come to divide father from son. And they invented all these lies against he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or what we call today propaganda, in order to stop people from listening to the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and accepting the message of Islam. And this was something that happened well over 1400 years ago, right at the beginning of the call of Islam. That people attacked Islam, people slandered Islam, and people created propaganda against Islam and the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So therefore it's no wonder and it's no surprise for us that we find ourselves 1400 years later, in 2009, that people are again following in the footsteps of the Quraysh in attacking and creating propaganda against Islam. And in fact, if you actually look at some of the arguments they bring today, this is how devious these people who attack Islam are. They couldn't even bother to find and bring new arguments against Islam. They're recycling the arguments that they brought out in the 18th century when they tried to attack Islam and tried to destroy the Khilafah. These attacks that they're bringing against Muslim women, these arguments they're bringing against Muslim women about how she's oppressed and the rest of it. These are the same arguments they brought in the 18th century when they attacked Islam and the Muslims. But what you find today, pick up any newspaper, look at any TV show about Islam, and what you find, Muslim women are the subject of discussion. So just today, if you look in the Sunday Times, there's another article talking about a possible hijab ban in France. If you remember only a few years ago, this idea of banning the hijab in France was hot on the agenda, was brought to the limelight about this whole issue about Muslim women in France. They're beginning to adopt Islam as a way of life and beginning to wear the hijab, and they touted this possible hijab ban. So again, you find out today in the same newspaper, Sunday Times, they're talking about bringing back a possible hijab ban. So what are some of these things that they're saying? What are some of the attacks they're bringing against women today? They're talking about hijab and niqab. So if you remember Shabina Begum, this sister who went to school in Luton, who decided that she would follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she would dress according to how He subhanahu wa ta'ala demanded, i.e. wearing the hijab and jilbab, and consequently she was expelled from school, if you remember. If you remember Jack Straw's statement with regards to when a constituent came into his office to speak to him, and she was wearing a niqab, and he had a problem communicating with her because why? He couldn't see her face. Don't know what happens when he tries to use MSN on email. Yeah, last time I checked, you don't see people's faces at MSN or email. But he has got a problem with this sister because why? He couldn't see her face. Even though he could hear her quite perfectly, but just because he couldn't see her face, he made a big issue about why women wear the niqab. I've just done a quick search on the internet today about this whole issue about the hijab ban, and some of the headlines are absolutely funny. You know, they crack me up. There's one article in the Daily Mail. Daily Mail always has the best headlines, but the title was, "Women in hijab need sunlight or risk illness." And the whole article is basically saying that because women wear hijab, yeah, they're going to be deficient in vitamin D because they don't get enough sunlight on their skin. Subhanallah, you know. On the other side, they're talking about how these women who dress naked are suffering from a rise of skin cancer because they don't wear enough clothes. And here we're talking about women in hijabs risk illness because of lack of sunlight. What else was said? Cherie Blair, if you remember, the wife of Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of Britain. What did she say? Yeah, famous QC, well educated. She said, "Nothing more, I think, symbolizes the oppression of women more than the burqa." Yeah? Here's the former Prime Minister's wife saying that there's nothing more that is a symbol of oppression than a woman wearing the burqa. Yeah, obviously they haven't seen Abu Ghraib yet. So that's Cherie Blair. For those who followed French politics, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who's a very famous right-wing former candidate for the French presidential race, he come out with something even better. His view was, and this maybe shows you the intellect of the French political system. What was his view was, he goes, "It's good, it protects us from ugly women." MashaAllah. But they don't have those in France anyway. So these are some famous people that have, talking about, you know, what their views are in about the issue of the hijab. What else have they come out with? They talk about Muslim women being oppressed, being second-class citizens. So they give lots and lots of examples how women can't drive in Saudi Arabia. Yeah? They show pictures of the Taliban and how they stop women from becoming educated. Women are not allowed to work. They're not allowed any freedoms. Yeah? They're not allowed to make any decisions. They have to walk 2 footsteps behind men. So I remember when I got married, and you know, a couple of people at work asked to see my wedding pictures, and so I brought in my wedding photos and started to see them, and they were a bit shocked. "Your woman's covered. Your wife's covered. Oh no. Did she have to walk 2 footsteps behind you?" You know, these types of stereotypical views they have about women. What else they talk about? They talk about how Islam oppresses women and there's no equality in Islam. So it's a male-oriented and male-dominated society, that women are subservient to men. There's no equality. They talk about how Islam talks about honor killings. Islam talks about child brides and forced marriages. So if you remember last summer, this new book that was released by a lady called Sherry Jones in America, talking about who? Talking about he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, how he married Aisha radiallahu anha at such a young age. And they made a big issue about how the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he married a child. And her, Aisha radiallahu anha, was a child. Talk about forced marriages again. You know, this new government hotline. You know, if you're about to be shipped off to Pakistan to get married, you know, and your family have confiscated your passport, there's this special hotline that you can ring, and the SAS are going to come in from their parachutes and rescue you from a certain forced marriage. And you know, they go on and on and on talking about, you know, how oppressed women are and how Islam treats women and the rest of it, and how they hide behind the hijab and they hide behind the jilbab and the rest of it. And you know, to be honest, one of the brother asked me when giving this talk, he said, you know, if you can go through some of these arguments and actually refute some of these arguments. And I sat down and I looked at some of these things and I thought, you know what? Why should I have to defend Islam? Why should I have to defend the truth? Why do we need to defend Islam? Because if you look back at